So you've just finished with your kid's birthday party, you've videotaped the entire event, and now you can't wait to share this with your friends and family. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to become a better editor. The first tip is learning the keyboard shortcut. Now, I can't stress this enough. Every software that you use, now whether you use Adobe Premiere, Corel Video Studio, or Final Cut Pro, they come with a set of standard keyboard shortcuts. Each time you make a cut, a trim, or an edit, or you switch between tools, learning the keyboard shortcuts will dramatically increase the flow of your video editing. So tip number 2 is edit your video to tell a story. Always keep this in mind when editing your content. You want to make sure that every cut, every transition serves a purpose. Don't just add it in for the sake of adding in the transition. If you add in too many transitions, you could literally distract your audience from the main content. Keep the rhythm, keep the pace. You want to engage the audience at every point of the video. You also want to keep in mind, if you make a cut or a transition, what is it you want to make the audience feel? Is there something they need to learn? Always make sure every edit serves a purpose to tell your story. So tip number 3, color corrections and color grading. If you're shooting events, something like a wedding, most likely you're moving constantly around. Some areas are going to be dark and some areas are going to be bright. Now, when you bring this into your software, most likely your clips are not consistent, and this could be distracting for your audience. So we have to correct the colors of each clip, most likely using the exposure, white balance, and the contrast. Once you've achieved a consistent look through all your clips, then you can start applying color grading. Now, what color grading does, it changes the mood. What mood or what feeling are you trying to pull out of your audience? When you look at a movie, something like The Matrix, they use the color teal because they wanted to give you this dark, sinister feeling. And most likely, you're not going to use teal at a wedding party. So grade the color that you want to get the emotions or feeling out of your audience. So tip number 4 is using BRoll. So if you are at a wedding or a birthday, you want to make sure you grab extra content. Don't just focus on the wedding party or the birthday boy. Take a picture of the cake or make a video of the parents setting up the chairs or even the pretty balloons at the birthday party. We're going to use this later on to reset your attention. So in other words, if you're watching, say, your favorite movie, notice within 10 seconds, the scene has changed. Your favorite YouTuber most probably does this every 5 seconds. However, if you're like me and you're making videos on software, it's very, very hard to grab extra content. What am I going to do? You're just going to watch more of the same? No, that's not going to reset your attention. And that's where today's sponsor comes in. I use Evanto Elements. Now, this place is great for extra B-roll. I've got access to hundreds of thousands of video clips and photos that I can use to reset your attention. If I'm looking for something like a sound effect or even music, again, Evanto Elements has a huge database that I can pull from to get my message across or even to reset your attention. Using something like Evanto Elements is a great way to grab extra B-roll. Now, if you are interested in using Evanto Elements, please use the link in my description, and this would really help me and my channel out greatly. So tip number 5 is organizing your assets. And I wish I had learned this much earlier in the game because it makes video editing so much smoother. In other words, grab all your content, put it in one folder, put all your music and your graphics in another folder, color code it if you can. And believe me, when you start video editing and everything is organized, neat in one place, it just makes your video editing experience so much smoother. Now, before I go, I'm going to give you one more bonus tips, and that is review your video. In other words, go back through your video and make sure you're telling the story for your audience and not for yourself. In other words, you most likely could cut 50% of the video out and still tell the exact same story. So quite often we get caught up in what we think is good entertainment, but not what the audience thinks. We have to make sure that the audience stays invested. We have to make sure that the audience engaged in what our story is about. And there you go. There is my 5 tips plus your bonus rounds on how to become a better editor. And as always, thanks for joining.